Hey guys, welcome back. I am Soulbash and we are back with some more Paladins Strike. Today I want to kind of have like a community conversation about the overall champion balance in the game currently. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the practice mode right here. I'm not going to go into the actual game, but I want to talk about each champion individually and kind of how they fit in with the game currently. What kind of needs to be tweaked or what I feel like could be a little bit different to make the game feel better overall. So with Grover starting out, I feel like he's in a pretty decent spot, except for one thing. I'm not real happy with the way his Vine is. I feel like it doesn't really give him that kind of out that he really needs. It's too big of a pause. If it was more fluid, for instance, kind of like a Makoa axe is, that would be great, where you're still moving, but as you target it, it's gonna hit it and you can go to it. But overall, his healing, every damage, he feels like he's in a pretty good spot. Now moving on, I'm just going to go down the list. We're going to check Terminus out. Now, Terminus is in a pretty good spot as well. Overall, I've seen a lot of good feedback from the community so far on like Discord with people talking about him. I've seen some pretty big numbers out of him. So overall, I think he's in a pretty decent spot. I know his attack is a little weird, but it's okay. You kind of get used to it once you play it. So let me know what you guys think about Terminus as well, though, in the comments. Do please try to be part of this conversation, as this is what we need to do to help these devs figure out what needs to be balanced and changed, because we are the main ones that are playing this. So Eevee, I feel like Eevee is one of the champions that's getting one shot most of the time right now. I mean, put in the right place, right situation, she can be pretty deadly, but as far as the overall health of everybody right now, there's too many champions that are able to one-shot people. So I think if things were balanced out with the damage, I think she would be okay with what she has. But at the current situation now, I don't really see her too often because the fact that she dies really easily. Now moving on, Fernando. Haven't really seen him a whole lot this week. Since the nerf to his attack, people haven't really been playing him too much, and I think they nerfed him a bit too much. The attack cone was fine. I think maybe the radius of the cone, maybe the how far it goes out could have been nerfed a little bit, but the tiny little square that he has now in front of him, he's just not worth playing, because you just literally have to put yourself right on top of somebody, and if you do that, you're going to take the full brute of every single type of damage that they can put out with their basic attack if they hit him. So I can see that's why he's not really being in the pick, and his shield's kind of lackluster compared to some of the other champions. Now Victor's in a pretty decent spot, I think. His basic attacks might need to move a little bit faster depending on like the way he's moving, but I mean, with the frag grenade, his movement ability with hustle, I feel like he's in a good spot, and his ultimate's disgusting. You can wipe out a whole point of people with him. So I think Victor's in a pretty decent spot. Let me know what you guys think. Next we have Grohk. Grohk is I think Grohk's one of the ones that's on top right now. He is probably the most used support champion, just for the fact of he's got very good damage and he does very good healing. Now, one thing I've seen a lot of conversation about, and which I do agree on, is he does get his ultimate back too far. Now, I don't know if it's just the calculations on just the healing and doing the damage at the same time because of the ultimate, but I think the ultimate can be scaled back on the healing side as far as gaining that back into your ultimate. So you shouldn't have 50 to 60% of your ultimate when you get done using your ultimate, you know what I mean? But other than that, I feel like he's in a really good spot. His damage is kind of on par with a lot of the rest of the champions. You got to hit your shots. It's really unique. His heal's pretty good, and of course his ghost walk, I mean, everything works perfect on him. Moving on, we're going to talk about Androxus. He's in a lot better spot than he was the previous week before this in PTS. They did some adjustments to his attacks and things like that, and I've seen him a good bit. His ultimate's pretty strong as well. And yeah, he's got his movement speeds. The reversal, I feel like, is a bit too strong. I mean, depending on how much damage you absorb, he literally can wipe out a half a team or more with just a reversal, using it on people because it just does so much damage. That's the only thing I think might need to be adjusted a little bit. Maybe put a soft or a hard cap on the amount of damage reversal can do. But other than that, I think he's in a pretty decent spot. Moving on, we have Bomb King. Bomb King is another one that's pretty well rounded for at this moment, this patch, except for maybe one thing, and I would think is the damage that he can do with his ultimate. He has a ton of mobility, and the way he can attack, his ultimate just does a bit too much damage for what it is. Other than that, he's in a really good spot with the stun, with the bombs. I think he's in a good spot. Moving on, we have Cassie, and this is another one that is a top pick, I believe, for the damage type, because Cassie's ultimate's pretty nasty. It's kind of unavoidable just about. Her roll is pretty nice, plus she's got blast shot, which explodes stuff, and I mean, she just got a ton of mobility, ton of damage. Her attacks are fairly easy to hit because they don't spread out too much, so that's probably the reason why she's one of the top picks, and she's of course one of the first ones in the game that you get. So I think right now Cassie's in a pretty decent spot, and we'll see how she plays out after they add some more stuff in. Hopefully it stays consistent. Barik. Barik's one I've seen a little bit less of recently. After some updates, they nerfed his damage a little bit. He did do a little bit too much damage, but now I mean, he's in a decent spot for what it is. He's a front line, but I'm not sure if his shields just need a little bit of buff or what. And it just lasts for 5 seconds. So maybe some adjustments there. They've already been adjusting on it as well before. Turrets, they feel okay now. They're a lot better than they used to be. And his ultimate, it's good, but it's still counterable. So I think he's in a decent spot. Just more people need to pick up and play him. Makoa. Makoa is a really fun one. He fits in really well with the way things run right now. I feel like his basic attack's fine. His hook is really nice, so if you can hit your shots with that hook, you can really make some game-changing plays. His shell works really well for helping protect your teammates, and it's not too bad on a timer. And his ultimate, of course, he's doing fairly well. Increases the HP, and I mean, if you get in close to some flanks, you can take them out in 1 or 2 hits. So I think Makoa's in a pretty good spot, and yeah, not too much needs to be really adjusted with him. Buck is yeah, I think he's a little bit on the OP side right now, just for the fact of, okay, for one, his shotgun, he fires 7 shots. They do 200 damage each. So base attack with no buffer, you're gonna do 1400 damage if you hit somebody point blank. His ultimate also increases that damage, and his ultimate resets everything. On top of what it's resetting is a heal for 1500 and a either in or out type of ability. Buck is super strong right now. If you guys haven't played him, he is probably one of the strongest champions in the game right now. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with him, or if they're going to make any adjustments to this. They may try to let things play out. They may have other things in plan. I'm not really sure, but I've got to say he's probably one of the literally top ones in this patch that is the strongest currently. Skye. I just picked up Skye, I believe, yesterday from the free roll, and I've been playing some matches with her, and she feels a bit lackluster. Her basic attack, it's kind of terrible. The range on it is almost as bad as Fernando's. You have to put yourself in so much danger to hit someone that you have so little HP that you're gonna get one shot quite a bit. The smoke bomb, everything else with her kit is fine. It's just her basic attack feels very lackluster. I think it might need to be just a bit like longer. I'm not sure if the 3 fan will work, but straight shots, staggered or whatnot, she just needs to have a bit more range on that attack, I feel like. But other than that, her kit feels really well, and she plays really nice and moves well around the map as a flank. So moving on, let's take a look at Pip. Pip, of course, he's in his usual spot, whether it be Paladins or I feel like Paladins Strike. He thinks he's a support, but he's kind of that flank kind of support. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of understands what I'm saying. He's got that little bit of damage. He's got that little bit of healing, but his healing's not really there or enough to support maybe a full team in certain situations. So with that, I mean, he does have the movement speed. That's what makes him great, is kind of the utility flank. And of course that ultimate. So Pip, I think he's in a pretty decent spot. He feels right with the meta. I see people play him quite a bit, so I'm not really sure if they need to adjust too much on him right now. But we'll have to see in next week's update. Moving on, Drogoz. Drogoz, I would have to say he's kind of okay. I feel like his basic attacks, they can be dodged a bit too easy. The fire spit, I think they need to change it that way you can actually control when it explodes, kind of like Salvo used to. Now Salvo is going, of course, but we have speed up, which increases your movement speed by 25%. That's kind of lackluster. You get run down quite a bit even with that on. And of course his ultimate can one-shot anybody. I'm not sure if they need to put a hard cap on that or not, but I mean, it's literally the same way in Paladins, so I don't see that really changing. But overall, Drogoz, he feels okay. Just a few small tweaks here and there, and I think he'd be a lot better. Kinessa. Kinessa is, I guess, another top pick for a lot of people, just for the fact of how far she could just sit back and snipe people with. She's got a good bit of damage. My only complaint with her would be projectile width of her sniper shots. They feel like they're maybe a bit too wide. So, I mean, if people do want to do those sniper shots, I think they need to be shrunk down just a little bit, because you can kind of be out of that range of the physical actual graphic and still get hit by her shots. I'm not sure if it's just the delay or what, but I think that's about the only thing that needs to be adjusted with her. Overall, she seems really well, fits in really well with the meta that's on right now. And let's move on. Maeve. I think Maeve's in a super good spot right now. She's got a ton of mobility. She's got her ins and outs. You can play her kit offensively or you can play it defensively. And her ultimate is pretty strong. Considering you can blind the entire team. That comes in handy because with auto attacks now, people can't just spam that button, so you are really doing a lot when you're using your ultimate to help out your team on Maeve. I think she's in a really super well spot. Of course, I like her dope skins, and yeah, I can't wait to see what they do next. So Ruckus, this guy. All right, guys, this guy right here, he's kind of up there with Buck right now, I think. I've seen people dropping some crazy frag numbers with him, and he's really strong right in somebody's face. He can destroy them. He's got his shields, which are really strong as well. He's probably one of the top picked front lines, and his ultimate is just crazy. It's a bit ridiculous, especially for like summons, because he can sit outside of the tower range and just ultimate the tower and do 30% damage to that tower in summons. So I think some things may need to be adjusted just for some game modes specifically. But as for him, I'm not sure if they need to adjust what they need to adjust on him to make him kind of even out with the meta that we have right now. But he is pretty strong. So if you haven't played him, try him out and let me know what you guys think about him. Moving on, Lex. Lex is I'd have to say they did a pretty good job balancing him out so far. His basic attacks feel really well. His first ability that locks onto somebody and does damage is really good for like going in and melting tanks. And of course his combat slot to get him out of any kind of action is really nice, and his ultimate can come in clutch. You can wipe out a whole team with it if you time it just right. So I think he's in a really well spot and fits good with what we currently have. Tyra. I think Tyra needs some help. The same as kind of like Victor. Her auto attacks maybe a little bit sluggish. Maybe need to be sped up somehow. But other than that, the Hunter's Mark, any enemies hit by a Hunter's Mark, Tyra's auto rifle will mark the debuff applied to them. It causes them 50% increased damage from all sources for 6 seconds. Now, I don't really see that being used a whole lot or being hit by people, because it's any enemies hit by Tyra's auto rifle will have the Hunter Mark debuff applied to them. So within those 6 seconds, you have to actually hit somebody, and with the speed of those actual trajectories, I could see it being kind of tough and how it's being lackluster. And of course, her rifle just not consuming ammo, I don't know really how well that's going to fit in. Like I said, if the attack speed was a little bit faster for her as far as the bullet projectile speed, it may be better, but I think that's about the only thing they could change with her to kind of make her feel, you know, more comfortable with the style of gameplay that Paladin Strike is now, with the fast pace. And of course, lastly, we have Ashe. Ashe is in a pretty good spot. I enjoy playing Ashe quite a bit. Her ultimate's really nice to come in clutch to jump on some points or to jump on payloads and things like that to protect them. Her shield works really well to help push and protect things. I think she just overall, she fits in really well with what Paladin Strike is as a whole. And there's not really much I don't think they really need to do with her. But she's pretty much the last one that we currently have available. Of course, Zen and Ying are in, but they're being, of course, reworked. I'm not sure the exact date of which either one of those will come out, but I do know we will not be having an update this week. It was pushed to next week because of some Q&A things. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. This is kind of a long video. I don't really like doing videos this long anymore, but I feel like we needed to discuss some of this stuff, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about some of these champions. I know I cover pretty much all of them that we currently can play, but this information is super helpful to the devs to kind of see what you guys think about where the game is currently and how things are progressing. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and slap that like button, as it does help us out a lot. But with that being said, folks, thank you again for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. I am Soulbash. You guys have a nice day.